All right, everybody. So we are in Mural. We have just made our mural boards and we're using the GD3 Golden Ratio Identity Process mural template that's in the COD classroom templates. And so once we have our template, we're going to zoom in and see that there are some things that are similar to the last template we used, but there are things that are decidedly different because this project is a little different than the last one. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and built our assignment brief right into Mural. It's right there so that you have it handy to reference at any time. All right, so let's go through this. So the assignment 2 is an identity system we're going to create using the golden ratio. And if you look up in the corner image on this assignment sheet, you'll see examples of logos that are in the wild that use the golden ratio. The Twitter logo, oh, the sad Twitter logo that we no longer get to see because it is no more, but a beautiful example of a golden ratio logo. The Apple logo is a golden ratio logo. Pepsi is a golden ratio logo. National Geographic is a golden ratio logo. So these are all national brands that use golden ratio in their design. We're going to be looking at the concepts of the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence and practice using it to create an icon. The golden ratio is a design concept based on using the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers with a pattern in each number being the sum of the previous two. So starting at 0, the sequence would be as follows: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, etc. This visually creates a swirling pattern known as the golden ratio. And you've all seen this. I'm assuming everyone is familiar with the golden ratio. Yes? All right. So many patterns in nature, including the flower petals and seashells, follow the golden ratio. Even most of human parts come in the following numbers: 1, 2, 3, and 5. And the human face follows the golden ratio in proportions. If you draw a circle in each one of the squares that is within the golden ratio, the relationship between these circles represents the golden ratio and can be used as guides to create designs that are believed to be appealing to human senses since they're repeated in nature. So when you saw the examples I just shared at the top, these ones right here, notice how they're mostly circular. So there's the circular elements in the Twitter logo, the Apple logo, the Pepsi logo, right? Well, and you might be asking yourself, well, the golden ratio is a spiral and all these rectangles and squares. Well, you center circles in each one of the squares, and you have these concentric circles that when you pull them out of the golden ratio become these concentric circles that are based on the Fibonacci numbers. So we have a couple videos to kind of describe this process and understanding how to draw the Fibonacci sequence. And I like this tutorial for you because it's giving you all of the kind of key commands on here, as you can see, as they're building the square and understanding how to make a perfect square, because it starts with a perfect square and then measuring out the distance to make the rectangle. And so that's what they're kind of showing, is this idea of this is it's a continuation of perfect squares, and then you're left with the rectangle at the end after each square. So you can keep going. You can see they're just doing, and you're holding your shift key down in Illustrator while you're doing this. So every time you're drawing a new square, you're holding your shift key down and aligning it, and you're going to keep going in this swirling pattern. So you can see it's going smaller and smaller, and there's your golden ratio. And then I think if I'm remembering right, I think we go in and they'll do the spiral in addition. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, so here you have your circle, and they're taking out these extra points because they're going corner to corner. Rotating it 90 degrees. So they made a copy, rotating it 90 degrees, scaling corners, and they're scaling it again, corner to corner of the square. Making a copy of that, rotating it 90 degrees, and then scaling it. Duplicating it, rotating it, scaling it. So it's just over and over again as you go through. Now, I show you this. I mean, I'm giving you, and you're going to see it on your template. I'm giving you this template, but I think it's important for you to understand how to make it, because also in that process of making it, it helps you as you're kind of thinking about building your designs, understanding the mechanics of how we consider these elements and parts of a golden ratio. So it's duplicating, rotating, right? Actually, they're just making a copy from the rotation. I realize they're not duplicating. They're making that a copy when they go into the rotating window. Pretty straightforward. All right. All right. I'm going to pause that. We're going to, the rest of the video is, and like I said, the video links are right here for these two. The first one on how to make the golden ratio, just understanding it. But the second one is about the circles. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on. What you just saw, making the grid, which I've included here. So making this grid of circles and squares, and then bringing it into just the circles, because that's really what we're going to be focusing on is these circles. I've also put in a golden ratio AI file, and that's on your mural process board. So you're going to see that. All right, so let's talk about this assignment a little bit more now. So we're going to develop ideas for the golden ratio. We're going to, again, work with themes. This time, though, unlike the last time I gave you a name of not only a type of business, but a name that you would use. This time, you're going to choose a company from this list below or an organization. And you're going to name it. So the first part of our project is naming. So we're going to choose to do a museum, an airline, a cruise ship, a hospital, a national event, a hotel, or a spa. And we're going to work through a naming process. You are going to get to name your company. And a lot of times design firms are brought into that naming process. When there's a new business, a new company coming into being, they will work with a naming process that we'll go through. The idea will be to develop a strong and memorable company name, and we're going to walk through that. The directions are all on our mural board. The thing we're going to be, and the reason, if you look at these choices I've given you, we're doing an entire design system. So not only are we doing a logo, a mark based on the golden ratio, we're also going to be doing a set of icons for this logo. This is doing a full icon set. And so we're going to be having a logo, and then all of these places need additional brand elements to help people understand and navigate their businesses. So if it's a museum, they're going to have needs to wayfind and get around the museum and find all the different areas within the museum. So a museum is going to have an icon set that's going to be about the different types of exhibits and um, elements that are within the museum. If it's an airline, you're going to have an icon set that's going to, actually, I have them over here, so I might as well. So icon sets, which are going to be also in it. So we're going to be creating a mark and an icon set. So areas of within the museum exhibits wayfinding will be the type of icon set a museum would have. An airline will have services, locations, wayfinding. A cruise ship will have services, categories, features, wayfinding. Hospital will be units, different types of care that they offer, different services that they offer, wayfinding. A national event could be, I'm thinking of like South by Southwest, it's a giant music event. So they're going to have different stages that people need to find. They're going to be food areas, bathrooms, wayfinding. Where do you store your stuff? Where's the medical aid going to be? All of the things you would find at a national event. Hotels, of course, are going to have, where's the ice machine? Where's the elevators? How do we find breakfast in the morning? Where's the front desk? Where's the emergency exits? All of the things you need for a hotel. Spa could be services. It could be different rooms for the spas. You have your sauna, your whirlpool, your massage rooms, your rest areas, all of the things, wayfinding. So we're going to be not only creating a logo for this design, we're creating a full system, which is also going to include icons. And so let's go back. And the reason I bring this up right away is because, why is this? What am I doing? Because I want you to think about these go hand in hand. So whatever organization you choose, understand you're also doing an icon set for that organization. So it's not just a logo. It's, really kind of be invested in all the different features that will need, that brand will need. You're going to be developing your mark using reference images and then refining the design by adding a golden rectangle grid to refine it, mark further. You're going to scan your sketch, digitize it, and using the techniques that we learned in the video. And here's another video on designing with the golden ratio. I have quite a few tutorials in here because it's just, I think, helpful, and you guys can go at your own pace and review them while you're working. If you're like, I'm not sure how to do this, I find these tutorials very helpful. We will also go through it in class, but I think I just want to give you as many resources as available. The number one thing is you're going to want to start researching imagery for inspiration of your mark. We're going to do sketching, of course. We're going to be working on sketching. We'll be doing some design sprint sketching in class is my plan. The idea is once we do our 30 sketches, we'll be doing 5 vector marks, further developing our design with the golden section, overlaying the grid. So I'll always be looking on this project at your grid. You'll always be gridding out your logo. This is a very technical logo we're designing. This isn't about being freehand. It's about being precise. So everything we do for this brand is about precision. How precise can we be? How accurate can we be? It's really going to be about that precision and detail, attention to detail, attention to precision. The golden ratio mark variations are in black and white, and each mark, we're going to look at each mark, one without the grid and one with the grid once we get into the gridding. So we will be reviewing the gridding all the way through the process, really understanding and fine-tuning that grid experience. And then once we finish that mark, we will move into the icon set, which will be the second part of this, or part 3, I should say, the third part of this. We'll be developing our icon set. And I've got a couple examples here. So for example, this is one from a previous student. This is my mouse issues. So until I get Kelly's mouse, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle with my horrible mouse that doesn't want to listen to me ever. Here we go. All right. So this is Emily's, and hers was a museum. And the museum was about the supernatural. And so she had conspiracy theory room, the monsters and cryptides room. She had the occult and witchcraft room exhibit. These are all exhibits, not rooms, exhibits. So she had the conspiracy theory exhibit, monster exhibit, occult witchcraft exhibit, supernatural exhibit. There was a cafe and a visitors center help desk. And so I think she did a great job on these icons. And this is an example of her two kind of final versions that we were deciding on. And this is from her mural board. So you can see she has two sets here, each one choosing different ways to approach the icons. You can see the top row, they're all pretty much outlines, right? Outlines and a similar line weight. And then you go down to the bottom and you can see she did a heavier line weight and a fill. Like here, the computer probably should have been reversed. It should have been a black screen with this item in white to kind of be more consistent, but here nor there. But this is, and I think this is where we were kind of talking about where we would go with it. But you can see here she had like the fills involved in that second set, and they become a little bolder, right? A little easier to read. And I think we ended up going with the fill version, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember which one she actually went with. But you can see, and then even like, variations like, oh, what if it's filled? What if it's not filled? What do those look like? So those are from her mural board. And then here is her final design for the Mistalore Museum. So here is the type treatment she came up with. Here is the mark. And but here's the golden ratio. This is really what I want to show you. So the mark is based on, of course, circles, as all of ours will be. Oops. Goodness, this is my market, my mouse issues as I'm sharing. Here we go. So here is her kind of looking at her circles, and all of her circles that are in here are based on the golden ratio circles. And then she's also using the curve of the spiral to help her with these glasses that kind of come out beyond the circle, right? So she's also looking at the spiral element, and even like where do the center of the eyeball in the side that has the eyeball, where does that land based on the spiral? You can see she flipped the spiral. The green one is her flipped spiral where she was positioning the eyeball. So she was centering it based on that spiral as well. So she looked at not only the golden circles, but she also used the full golden ratio to develop these kind of winged elements on the eyes, glasses. So these are kind of like spectacles. So I think she did a great job. Another one is an airline. And so let me zoom into this. Here is Neofel Airlines. And the idea was mixing the idea of a cloud and people in the clouds, like we're flying. So she's not using an airplane, which I really liked. I liked that this was really much more about, we're up in the clouds. So here you have these dots are representing people and kind of their bodies, but it's also a cloud. So she has kind of this combination of people and clouds. So you can see here are her circles. They're kind of, pulled apart, obviously out of the concentric circles. And here you can see how she was using them. And this is a good one to see all the repetition of the circles. So you can see each one of these curves was based on the circles, combining them and where they were overlapping. The circles for the heads are part of the same series. So, and then she was building it all into the rectangle. So fitting it all within the golden ratio. So not only is each circle made of for the cloud are made of the concentric circles, but then the width of the entire design is fitting within the golden ratio. And she's using the arc of the spiral to kind of affect that. Anyway, I think that was kind of a good example. And you can see different refinements she's doing as she's going about it. That was Angie's design. All right. So those are some of the examples. So we're going to, first steps first. So now I'm going to jump over, just to kind of keep it moving. We're going to jump over to our mural board that I made for us. So Obviously, all of this is up here on our mural board. And I'm really going to start doing that more and more, is having have our assignment brief, because I feel like when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And I really want you guys to pay attention, because I give you lots of details in these assignment briefs. You know, because I want to give you as much guidance as possible. So I want you to, when you're not sure, what do we do, or where do I find information or resources? They're here in the assignment brief. So make sure you're always checking back to this assignment brief. Okay, because it's already in your mural board now. So you don't have any excuse. It's always there. So the first part of this is, once we choose our direction, we're going to walk through the naming process, and we're going to go through that together. So at this point, you're going to see I have a little talk about naming. We're going to go through that. And then you can see I've created a grid, and we are going to fill in every square of this grid. Okay, no holes. That is a challenge. And I know you might feel like, oh my God, there's so many squares there. But again, our first ideas are never our strongest. So we're going to like just jump through and get fill this grid up with every possibility. And we're going to talk about how we figure that out. So there's a system, and we're going to follow that system. So that's the new piece of this grid. The next piece you already know. The research stays the same as last time. So this part one research is exactly before. You know the brand sort. You know how we're going to identify what the market space is. We're going to do that just like we did last time. You are also very familiar with the personas. Same thing. We're doing personas again. There they are. I've fixed the errors that my last template had, so this one should be working without a problem, hopefully. Here's our area for our competitive analysis. We're going to figure out, once we know who our company is, we know what our market is, who are the people in that market right now? Who are we up against? So we're going to fill this space with as much information. I don't want it to be just a logo. I want you to say, yes, put your logo, but also tell me, where are they the same and where are they different? I want more data this time. We're moving into a little more understanding of this process, so I'm going to expect a little more from you this time. Not just the logo. I also want to know, where are they the same and where are they different? Excuse me. And if you need more help on that, do your SWOT analysis first. So you're going to move into your SWOT analysis and then your framing. You guys know this too. We did it last time, so this is not changed. Mood boards, you know how to do a mood board at this point. We're going to do that noun process and image search, just like we introduced last project. And so you're going to put all of your nouns here, figure out all of the nouns that represent your mark, and you're going to fill every square, and then put an image there for your reference. And then over here is when we're going to get into that sketching. And I just put numbers 1 through 5. You can continue numbering them all the way down. And then, so the first part of sketching, we don't have to worry about the templates, these golden ratios. This is just sketching. You know you're going to be using circles. You know you're using the golden ratio. So when you're sketching, you want to think on that lines, right? Do not come with, I mean, well, you could do it all in squares too, I guess. But it's going to be using the elements of circles and squares and rectangles from the golden rectangle. So make sure you're thinking about that. Circular are usually, the really emphasis here is about circles. So thinking about a very circular logo. Once we choose our hero sketches, we're going to then move down here to the golden ratio and take our designs into the golden ratio. Now I just put the regular golden ratio here. You're going to make the circles and make your concentric circles and everything. But if you want a starting place, there's a couple of files here you can download, and they're PDFs, and you can bring them into Illustrator, or they're here just for reference. So that's when you're going to start gridding out your designs and doing your refinements. And this is going to happen in Illustrator. So all of the golden ratio elements are going to move into the Illustrator realm. And then you're going to show us your digital roughs with the golden ratio. So design 1, let me just make sure you understand how this works. This is new. This is a new one. So design 1 with the golden ratio visible. So you're going to show me the grid on this one. And then this one, you're going to show me the design without the grid. So we want to see it with and without, so we can see how it's built, but also see what it looks like without the grid overlaying it. Okay. When you do your with the grid, make that grid like a light blue or a different color. Don't make it black. Make your design black. and your grid, like a light blue, let's say, is a good color to use so that it's there, but it's not interrupting. And make sure it's laying on top of the design so we can see it over the design. Okay. And so we're going to do that for each one of these digital roughs. So design 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to have 6 variations. And the reason you're seeing 12 squares here is you're showing me each one twice, one with a grid and one without. Then we're going to move into refinements. Okay. And then that's when part 2 ends and we move into part 3, and that's our icon set. And so so this is new to the grid as well. So I'm just going to walk you through this. The icon set is going to have the icon image reference. Okay, so whatever it is, you're going to have an image reference. So we just saw Emily's, and so let's say she had a crystal ball. So she would have a crystal ball here, and then she would have her icon sketch once, twice, and 3 times. So there's going to be 3 different variations of that crystal ball. And then here's our next icon, and whatever it is, a skull. And then we're going to have 3 different sketches of how she sees that skull can be. Okay. So pretty straightforward. That's another new area. And then these are the refinements down here. There's icon set version 1 and icon set version 2. And that's what you saw me show you of Emily's. She had her 2 kind of final sets to choose from. So we're going to start out with sketching, 3 sketches per icon. And then when we go digital, we're going to do 2 sets. And we're going to choose, like you saw in Emily's, we're going to choose one of the 2 sets. Okay. And then we move into all the things you've done before, which are color palettes, secondary typography, horizontal lockup, stacked lockup, apply color to mark. And I've actually, based on what I learned from you all last time, I made some changes. So I made it very clear that you're going to do positive color, which is on a white background, and inverted color, which is on a black background. So when you're looking at color, we're going to look at it both on white and black. And the same thing when we are looking at our icons. Our icons need to work on both white and black. So hopefully that makes that a little clearer. I think that was something I noticed we were having some confusion over. So I'm trying to solve that. And then here's our final signatures of the mark, our design rationale, before we moved into our brand guidelines. And then that stays the same. So that's the kind of new features to this mural board that are different than last project. Yeah, Maddie, go ahead.
So, how much typography is involved? Because I'm excited because this is all icon based instead of type. So, what parts do we have to have the type in?
Well, like you kind of saw in the examples, you're still going to need a word mark to go with your icon. So, for example, you see on both of these, there's still going to be a word mark. It's going to be more typographic based. It's not going to necessarily be, oh my gosh, why are these things that keep popping up? It's not going to be necessarily hand drawn. Not that it couldn't be hand drawn, but more than likely, the more emphasis on this project is the icon and the mark. And so you're going to pair it with a typeface,
But
like you
you
see
could use
here.
like a typeface that you find instead of making your own.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. hmm Yeah, the idea, that's why this one is quite different than the last project, which was all about the word mark. This one's not about the word mark at all. It's all about the mark. We're making a mark, an illustrated mark, and then icons. So
I love that.
good, good. I'm glad to hear that. Good question. Any other question? Really? No other questions?
Yeah, yeah, part one is similar to the previous project, so we know how to do part one.
Right. The new part is the naming, and we're going to do that together. So that is the kind of, and you're right. In part one, the only new part is the naming, and everything else will be pretty much the same. Our designs based on the circle. Now, the thing that's really important that you heard him talk about is once you have this sequence of circles that are all based on the golden ratio, We're not changing them. You can scale the whole set up and down, but you cannot change each individual scale. This ratio is what's the golden, that's what makes it a golden ratio. So you can scale the group up as big as you need it, but you cannot change the scale of any of these circles within the outer circle, right? That's the important part, is once you get the scale of the group where you want it, you then use the circles within that group to create and identify your logo. So I'm going to pause here. Is there a limit on how many circles we can create? No, you can, and you'll see even in these examples that I gave you up here, and this is kind of a low res off the internet, so it's kind of, crappy. But you can see there's lots and lots of circles within there. And so you can repeat the same circle. So like on the Apple logo, the same size circle from the golden ratio is at the bottom of the apple and in the bite of the apple. And then the two like little top parts of the apple, the round parts at the top, are also the same size circle. So you can repeat the same size circle over and over and over again within your design, and you'll see that in the Twitter. And you can see his example is kind of like the Twitter logo that he's going to walk you through, because he's kind of borrowing from the Twitter logo because it's such a classic golden section circle logo. So yeah, you can use as many of these circles over and over and over again. The key is you have to use them in the sequence, though. You can't change the proportion of these. You can scale the group, but you can't scale individual pieces. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay.